Hello everybody, my name is Ed and welcome to episode 6 of the HogCast. For the last few weeks we've had many a guest, many different people. Last week we had Isla McTeer, who absolutely owned me in some Japanese haikus. It is now time to introduce a brand new guest, never before seen in GameHog audio format on the channel, I suppose, or in any other format apart from live streaming. Please welcome to the HogCast, Mr. Chris Bingham. Welcome, sir.
Sorry, I was leaning away from the mic to drink my water.
Okay, well, that's a great start. How are you? Welcome to the HogCast.
I am very good. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Now, some people may know you as the brother of the beloved Jenny B, who is featured on the channel, but how would other people know you? What is it that you do on YouTube, Chris? Why don't you explain that to people who maybe don't know you?
What is it that I not do? Is the real question.
Right.
Most people know me as a sketch comedian. That's how I got started. I also video blog. My most notable project is called Past Bing, Future Bing. It's a kind of time traveling, time capsule video blog series. And when I'm not doing that, I'm making music or doing my day job, which is teaching on a film course.
Oh, really? Where do you do that?
Ravensbourne.
Ooh.
In Greenwich, London.
How long have you been doing that for?
About a year and a half, 16 months or so.
Was that where you went to college?
No, actually, they turned me down.
Really?
Yes, scandal. I know.
Lo and behold, the prodigal son returns, coming to teach them now.
There is a certain poetic beauty to that whole situation that because at the time I was very sad. I was very disappointed that I didn't get into Ravensbourne. It was it may have even been my first choice, and they turned me down. And now they pay me a salary, so
it's the ultimate universal justice. That's excellent.
I won.
Well, Chris, we're going to kick off this HogCast as we do every HogCast, which is we start and end pretty much everything with a little questionnaire, but we start with the Pivot questionnaire, which some of you may recognize from inside the Actors Studio. So we'll start with question 1, which is, what is your favorite word, Chris Bingham?
Oh, I have a few favorite words. I'm going to go with my favorite word based on meaning and importance.
Okay.
Right, in my life. And that is context.
Right.
Context. I sound like a nerd, but context is one of the greatest words in the English language, and it is one of the most important things in life.
Absolutely.
Understanding context, not just understanding like, oh, somebody took this out of context, or, being savvy when you're watching the news, but like understanding your place in things, understanding the role you are playing in whatever system or whatever community or environment you happen to be in, or understanding the context of a particular discipline or art style or
what about a more nihilistic one where your context in how small you are compared to the universe,
that too,
and how nothing you do matters in a way?
That too, and I am a card carrying nihilist. And so
official member of the nihilism fan club.
Yeah, except we don't print cards because we don't care.
That was a really nerdy joke, but I loved it. That's a really interesting choice, because a lot of the people have been going for things like facetious was one of them. Spammels went with pickles.
Yeah,
a bit less impactful.
I made a conscious choice because I have words that I like just because of the sound, like betwixt.
No, I'm a big fan of betwixt, and any word like lozenge that ends with NGE sounds. I love those. I
love thins. The plural of thin, like,
right.
On on like biscuit packets. Sometimes if it's a fancy
wheat
biscuit,
thin or something like that,
a fancy biscuit or some kind of health food, they call it a wheat thin, or a packet of digestive thins.
Oh yeah, I see those a lot as well, and they kind of feel like a sin. I don't like this idea of dwarving food to make me feel like some kind of giant.
But that word, as enjoyable as it is, it doesn't mean something deeper to me. Whereas context, I think, is an important word for everyone.
I think that's very interesting. In fact, it's been bringing this to kind of more current affairs, which we don't normally do on the HogCast.
Let's do it.
I was watching... Yeah, exactly. I was watching one of those videos. Do you hear about this story about the chap who taught his pug dog to do a Nazi salute?
Exactly. It is on my mind. I watched like the Philip DeFranco just an hour ago.
Well, there was a little video clip of him talking to a Sky News journalist and him saying, what do you think what you've done is wrong? Because you said gas, gas, gas. And he goes, well, why is it wrong when I said it? But when you said it just now in the context of a question, it's not okay. Think about context, mate.
Yeah, no.
And it's kind of like, whilst I disagree with what you've done, like, that's a good point.
Yeah, Count Dankula is a bamf in that fucking clip. Are we allowed to swear?
Of course we're allowed to swear. We're just not allowed to drop a C-bomb.
No C-bombs. Got it. Count Dankula in that clip, and if you haven't seen it, check out one of the latest Philip DeFranco's, or just you can Google for like Count Dankula Sky News clip or something. He's a complete bamf. He gets it. He understands it. He's been living with this ridiculous court case for 2 years.
2 years?
2 years of his life has been wasted on this ridiculous court proceeding that upsets me so much. It makes me so angry that I want to go down there and just give him a hug and say like, dude, you did not do anything wrong. I'm so sorry. Because yes, like, it's a poor taste joke. We can all understand that it's a poor taste joke, and if you don't find it funny, you're probably going to find it offensive. It's risque material at the best of times.
Sure.
Doing a Nazi joke, right? We all understand that in the biz. We know there are certain subjects you don't talk about, but we also understand that in the context of a joke, we
technically nothing's off limits.
We take for granted that we are not going to be assaulted or arrested or our freedom taken away from us for making a joke.
Absolutely.
And it really, really upsets me. What specifically upsets me about this court case more than, like, on top of that, is the hypocrisy of it all. This is one guy who uploaded one YouTube video, which is not nearly as offensive as some things that professional stand-up comedians have done on stage in front of thousands of people.
And get applauded for it.
And been televised to millions of people.
Absolutely.
This is one guy, and by doing this, not only are you setting a terrible precedent for the future, but you're also basically saying, like, you're singling this one guy out. What about all those? If we're gonna do him for it, then we gotta go back and do everyone else.
It is ridiculous, and it kind of brings back all the old PewDiePie stuff when that came up. And yeah, again, like you say, poor jokes in poor taste that, again, some people will probably find offensive, but again, the context there was so important, and yeah, it was risque material, but ultimately it wasn't there to hurt people. It was actually there to kind of satirize the people who were trying to make harm and like that.
It's the kind of time-old, Cartman argument, is Cartman highlighting how stupid belief in Nazi propaganda is, or is he glamorizing and
hate crimes?
Is he glamorizing and making it accessible? And everyone has a different opinion, and everyone lands on the same a different place on that spectrum, but nobody's going to arrest Matt Stone and Trey Parker. I
imagine how they've probably had loads of calls for their arrest by now, knowing the kind of people who complain. Did you ever see that they released all of the Simpsons complaints that were ever filed or upheld?
Oh,
and there was only like 13 or something. Yeah. They are the most absurdly dull things in the world.
I love it.
From kind of old, middle-aged white women just whinging, going, I saw Mr. Simpson sitting in his front yard nude. Do you really think this is appropriate for daytime television? No, just fuck off. Really, fuck off.
And there's also a certain, I feel like, and this is strictly my opinion, and I'm not, I haven't read every single document in the case, and I'm not, like, by any means an expert, and I don't know the judges and people involved at all. But I feel like there's something that just irks at me, just makes me kind of uncomfortable. It feels like there's just a little bit of a classist element to it, because okay, we're not dealing with a person of color, we're dealing with a white guy, but we're dealing with a white guy with a beard and tattoos and spacers who speaks with a kind of drawl regional accent and uses slang and is very upfront about the fact that he smokes and he enjoys weed, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he was picked out. I think he was made an example of because of the way he looks.
Interesting.
I think someone along that line, or multiple people along that line, saw this guy and thought, there's someone that needs to be taught a lesson. There's a threat to our values. That man there. So let's get him.
Blimey, this is a very, very deep start to the first 10 minutes of the HogCast. This is exciting.
Lighten it up a little bit.
Right off the first question. This is amazing. We haven't had any serious discussions like this, but...
Hey, comedy YouTubers, we got to look out for each other. Even if we don't like the video or find it funny, or even if we find it offensive, we have to defend the position that it's okay to do it. We have to protect ourselves, because it's, you know... First they come for Count Dankula, and I said nothing, and then they came for Games Hog, and I said nothing, and finally they came for me, and there was no Count Dankula or Games Hog to say anything for me. You know, it's true. We're dealing with it. Oh, it's gross.
This is very true. You've raised some amazing points today, Chris, and I think you've made a point that we do have to rally together as creators around these points. Otherwise, creativity and freedom of speech will be rife with this world. We'll never be able to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris, we'll move on to the second question of the questionnaire, which is, what is your least favorite word?
Oh.
Now, I've said this in most of the podcasts. The most common selection is the word moist.
No, I'm not going to go for that. I love the word moist.
Do you? Okay, fair. I've never heard anyone say that.
It's got that lovely beefy oi sound in it. Love it.
I also said pus last week. I don't like pus. As a word or a sound. It also looks wrong because it's only one S. I've got to say one of mine is I can't stand people who and their way through sentences too much. Like, it's fine to do every now and again, but for God's sake, just silence and thinking about what you're going to say next is better than umming or erring your way through it. I feel the vein on my forehead throbbing as this carries on.
You caught me out. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I don't have a least favorite word.
You're just such a bibliophile that you just love words.
The thing is, I thought, like, okay, so this is where my mind is going, right? I'm going to slang, and I'm going to things that I personally think are, you know, uninspired words, or words that make you sound unintelligent, or, you know, words that have been corrupted, like saying literally, or saying like actually this is actually me, or
actually is a really horrible word to say in a sentence to someone, because when you say to someone, that was actually quite good, what you're saying is, I didn't expect that to be very good, but I now think it's very good.
Yeah, maybe it's actually, because there are other, in its clearest and original form, there are other ways you can say it, right?
Sure.
You can say in actuality, or you can say it turns out it's this.
As a matter of fact.
As a matter of fact, you know, there are other ways of saying it, but most often colloquially, it's used in a passive-aggressive way, or in a belittling way, or...
Yeah. It was actually not as shit as I thought it was going to be.
Even
it's basically how it comes across.
Even if you're using it nicely, or you think you're using it nicely, it's probably being interpreted.
I think that's probably a fair shout, isn't it, actually? Because now that I think about it, I can't really think of a term when it's not been used as a massive double negative in a way.
Yeah, I'm going to go with actually. Let's wipe it off the face of the planet.
I'm also going to go with actually. Yeah, fuck actually. I don't want actually to be a word anymore.
Actually, fuck actually.
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag fuck actually in the comments. Like I said, if you guys are listening over on the audio version of this podcast, make sure you migrate over to the YouTube version, where you can leave comments answering various questions, responding to the various features on the HogCast, and giving us your thoughts, because I'd like to try and read some of your guys' suggestions out on the HogCast, so maybe you'll get read out in the next one.
Yeah, do it. And while you're there, subscribe.
On to one of the more deep questions of the Pivo questionnaire. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? Typically, a lot of people have answered passion for this because there's something incredibly invigorating about whether it's your own passion or someone else's passion. It just makes something totally different seeing it through someone's eyes who adores what they're doing.
Variety.
Ooh, the spice of life.
Variety. I absolutely dig it. It's woven a kind of drive to experience the novel is woven through like every part of my life and lifestyle. I creatively enjoy doing, that I do a lot of different things.
Yes.
I do it because I kind of can't really sit still doing one thing at a time or one thing for too long, You'd
rather have your fingers in many pies, as it were.
Yeah, I make videos for a while and I'm like, yeah, this is great, but I really wish I was also making music. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to learn how to make some music. And then I like, oh, that's pretty cool. Put out an EP, put out an album. Oh, what next? I'm gonna do some live streaming. I'm gonna learn how to build a boat.
Do you think that drifts into your professional life as well, which is why you maybe do a multitude of different things?
No, it's in my professional life. It people see it in my professional life. I always get asked like, why don't you just upload one thing at YouTube? Like, yeah, I could probably be the king of fucking YouTube at this point if I just did one thing and just did it really, really well, but I'm my own worst enemy.
People say this to me on YouTube as part of GameHog. They're like, do you know what you need to do? You need to just start again and find a niche. So yeah. Fuck that, because I would have done that already if I wanted to do that. I could make an anime channel talking about Dragon Ball if I wanted to. I love Dragon Ball. I could make a Yu-Gi-Oh channel talking about Yu-Gi-Oh. I love Yu-Gi-Oh. I could do any of this. I don't want to because it turns it into a chore.
Only 20-minute video essays about the deeper meaning of Dragon Ball Z, and you're fine. You're in it. You're moneyed. I could make an educational essay channel like Nerd Writer in my fucking sleep. Brah. But I don't want to. I'd get bored. I get bored after one video.
Yeah, and this is something that Spammels and I have been discussing, because Spammels, who's one of the creators who's friends with us, he makes a lot of Titanic-based content, but he doesn't want to only be tied to the Titanic-based content. Obviously, he's very proud of the fact that he's become synonymous with the Titanic, because it's something that he adores, and he adores making that content, but when it's all your audience talk about, and it's all they want to see, that's frustrating when you're going, but look at all these other games that I'm playing that are loads of fun, that I'm enjoying playing. Like, don't you want to come see those? No, where's the Titanic? Like, I understand that feeling of not wanting to be pigeonholed. So I agree with you there.
It's not just in my professional life as well. It comes through in everything. It comes through in my eating habits. If you've ever seen me eat, I can't just have one thing on my plate. I have to have like little, like I'm best in like a tapas style restaurant.
Oh, picky teas. Yeah, I agree with that.
I can have everything. I can try a little bit of everything and it's socially acceptable. But when I go to another restaurant, I'm limited to just ordering one thing and maybe a starter. I panic. And when I'm at home, I think like a lot of people, I kind of like shame eat in private.
Sure.
I go to the fridge and I go to the counter and just like, I make myself up a bunch of sandwiches, but then I'm like, well, I also have this hummus and these chips, but I also have these veggies. Well, I'll just and I got this Graze box just in, bang, I hear it land in the corridor.
Right on your doormat.
Like, yes. I could just open a couple of Graze boxes as well. And then I come up to my room and I lay it out all on my desk and I feast. I feast in private where no one can see me.
Are you a fan of the roast dinner?
I love it, but again, I would like to add a couple of burrito to it or something.
Oh, sorry?
I just like, it's great, but there's only really like one kind of style of flavors going on there.
Are you high? What do you have on your roasts? There's chicken, there's veg, there's stuffing. But they're all
like kind of beige tastes, right? So throw some hot sauce on there, throw some extra.
Yeah, I put some chili flakes on my roast dinner. I won't dispute that.
But like, also I want some olives and maybe
I think you're just eating the wrong food then. I mean, fair enough. Okay, I can't dispute that. I think that's interesting, having this variety.
Traditional roast. Where's the cheese?
That's okay, fine. Well, what about macaroni and cheese? Not macaroni and cheese, sorry, cauliflower cheese. Cauliflower cheese with the roast is
Okay,
acceptable.
yeah, throw that in there, then I might be satisfied.
What about chorizo cauliflower cheese? Then you're really talking.
I haven't eaten yet.
Okay, sorry, I'm
hungry.
making this a bit worse for you. So your creative, spiritual, and emotional turn on is variety. I think that's a wonderful answer, and I think most people would probably like to agree with you. I am a bit more of a creature of habit with some things. I like eating the same things if I know I like it. I like watching a certain show if I know I'm used to it and I like watching it. But in other regards, I like the variety. With my content, for instance, I adore the variety.
Habits. I have a few, like, I'm not full on. I'm not like a nomad. I'm not traveling.
You can't pin me down, man. I do what I want when I want.
You can very easily pin me down. You give me a nice, give me a nice flat to live in with heating and the television.
That is true.
And I'm fine. I'm not like, there are some things that I need consistency in, but I guess it's not about being surprised. It's just about
experiencing different things,
knowing that I can have all the stuff.
Well, on the flip side of this, what turns you off? This one, a lot of people have said the same kind of thing, like the opposite of passion. People who are lazy or creatively slumped, it's kind of an unattractive quality, or people who demean other people's passions or enjoyment just because they don't associate with it. Things like that. It's such a kind of personality turn off.
You know what turns me off in people is lack of ambition, unoriginality.
Oh,
that kind of thing.
You know? I think that's fair.
And it goes to the, if someone, I know people who are lovely, lovely people, absolutely lovely people. And I'll say, like, I'll ask them, I'll be talking to them, I'll be like, what's your plan? Or like, what do you want to do? Or like, what excites you? And they don't really have an answer for it.
Right.
Or someone is like bitching all the time about their job that they hate. And I ask them the first question that comes to mind, what are you doing about it? And they're not doing anything.
And that's a very frustrating conversation to have.
That frustrates me to no end. Turns me right off. And you see it in people. It doesn't necessarily need to be as obvious as that. It can be like people's behaviors, people being like self-destructive time and time again, or making terrible decisions about people they hang out with, or the people they take as partners, when they'll be complaining about it.
Sure.
Or that they can do better, or that they could so easily help themselves. I have a hard time. I get flack for it as well. I can be a know-it-all, and my temptation is to be a problem solver even when it's not asked for.
Right.
And sometimes people just want to like vent to me, and I'm like, well, here's some practical solutions, and they don't like that.
Yeah, I understand that, because I like to consider myself quite grounded, even though I'm sure in some regards I'm very much not. But when it comes to a lot of life decisions, I'm quite kind of flat about it. Like, well, this is the way it is. Whether you like it or not, here's how you need to deal with it.
Yeah, like,
like some people don't like hearing that. It's like, well, that's not my problem that you didn't want to hear what you need to be told. But unfortunately, that's the way it is. How are we now going to go about fixing this together? Yeah, but some people don't want to hear that.
And I think, I haven't really touched on the spiritual part of your question, and really, that's because I'm not spiritual.
Sure,
I'm 100% atheist, humanist. Like,
although your mother's a vicar, am I wrong?
She is, and it is a problem.
Oh god, it must make for a difficult Sunday roast.
I love you, Mum. Love you, big fan. But I don't believe in the big boy in the sky, and I never will. And she knows that. We're cool. We understand each other. We're simpatico.
I think it's interesting that you brought up lack of originality, because actually that's something that really turns me off with regards to things like music. Music for me is a very, very easy thing to get completely distracted away from if something puts me off. Lazy lyric writing is one of the worst things on earth. And I actually get very wound up about it. Like, why did you write that? Like, that's just shit and lazy.
It's all tied together. It's what turns me off about religion, to be honest.
No, fair enough. And look, here we are coming full circle.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, because I can feel your listeners turning off. I can feel them unsubscribing.
Religion's always a difficult one.
I can feel them leaving as we speak. But that is something, like, personally, I love variety and I love my agency to kind of affect change in my own life and do whatever I want and eat whatever I want and be whatever kind of creative I want. And
religion is this stationary bastion of faith that is unshifting. Like you
give up a certain element of that by kind of shrugging and saying, well, it's all God's plan.
I think these are very deep answers, Chris.
You're really
hitting on some. You're hitting on some points that we didn't hit before.
I try not to take it deep, and it's just where I go.
No, it's good. We need some of this. We've had a real variety of guests coming on the HogCast, and that's what makes it great. In fact, people have noticed this. Liam, in the first episode, we were very laddie and boisterous. Spammels was very relaxed. Luke and James, our two podcasts, were very conversational and quite laughy. Isla's was very passion-filled, and I basically had a big smile on the whole time because Isla's a total delight. This one, I'm giggling, and I feel like we're hitting some massive deep points. So this has been one heck of a HogCast so far. Absolutely.
Crime and punishment. Does God
things are going
exist?
fine.
Do we matter? Why doesn't cheese come with roasts?
Yeah, with roast dinners. Yeah, exactly. This is going well. So let's move on to things a little bit more closer to the bone, Chris. What is your favourite curse word?
Oh, I just like a classic fuck.
Everyone says fuck. It's just great. Last week we had Isla McTeer walk us through some Scottish ones. You don't get to hear a lot of those. I love a lot of the British ones. I've said this a lot of weeks, like a bugger, a wanker. They're always fun.
I'm not a huge fan of those. Maybe it's because I've spent so much time in the States. I'm very like transatlantic, and I watched a lot of American TV growing up. And sometimes I hear bugger or wanker, or like I say them and it doesn't feel right. I think maybe it's just that I feel like that I can't pull them off.
Do you have any expressions that you really like a way of cursing someone, almost an expletive? Because one of mine, even if it's quite visceral, is calling somebody an anus tumour. It's very hardcore, but there's something really annoying when you're playing a game and someone gets you, go, oh, you anus tumour. There's something really visceral about it, and it rolls off the tongue, so to speak. But do you have any like that? Because there's a lot of American ones that work really well. You can kind of say a lot of things like, oh, you jerk off. There's things you just don't get to say in British, English.
It'll come to me off the top of my dome. Nothing's coming to mind, but it's one of those ones I'm like, I'm on the spot. I know I do. I know I have them. But maybe I just need to get riled up.
I like the expression, rustle my jimmies. That really rustles my jimmies. It's not much of a curse word.
That rustles my jimmies.
But it is great.
I think again, going back to the simple things, I think I like calling someone a fuck.
You fuck. Yeah, that person is a fuck.
Because you can really, maybe it's, I do a lot of, talking to camera and recording my voice, and I like the way that I say fuck.
Sure.
If I want to put some flavor on it, I let my whole jaw drop. I almost swallow the word, and I'm like, get out of here, you fuck.
There's something really easy to kind of spit it when something bad happens. It happens to me in almost every game or video ever when I fail at something. Fuck just works really well. I love it. Okay, I'll agree with you. Just fuck is universally agreed to be the best one.
Yeah, it's good, and it can mean so many things, and it can be used in so many ways.
Speaking of things that could be used in many ways, actually, I don't really know how this is applicable, but I'm trying to neatly segue in every way that I can. What sound or noise do you love? Some people have chosen musical instruments with this question, because that's quite an obvious choice. My favourite musical instrument is the harp. What is yours?
I really, 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 I don't know if I would call them my favourite, but I really, really love strummed, stringed instruments with metal strings.
So a guitar.
Bonus points, because that's like usually like where there's like metal wrapped around nylon. It's not quite the same, but like actual just metal strings like a banjo.
Oh, right, okay.
Bonus points if they have sympathetic strings like a mandolin or a dulcimer.
Well, dulcimer's different though, because that's struck with mallets.
Not necessarily. There's a bunch of different ways you can.
Is that just one method of playing?
Bunch of different ways you can play a dulcimer, and bunch of different form factors for dulcimers. There's some that you sit on your lap. There's some that you can hold, and you can do them with your fingers, or you can do them with plectrums, or you can hit them, or you can slide on them.
I'm a fan of a glockenspiel, not only because of the way it sounds, but because of the way it sounds, like glockenspiel. What a word.
I also just love the human voice, particularly the male voice. I like, not in like an a cappella way, just like in a vocal speaking way. I love vocal fry. I love bass. Most of my favorite like voice actors are men, not women, just out of preference.
Are you a fan of harmonizing with male vocals as well? Because that to me is where vocal takes itself to a new level, is perfect harmonizing.
Yeah, but it's strangely enough not a huge fan of a cappella groups.
I suppose there's a campness or a kind of irritating quality to them.
My sister's always listening to that one group, the Pentatonics.
Yes, yeah.
And they annoy the living shit out of me. Yeah, we get it. You're all very good at singing. Shut the fuck up.
I have to agree, actually. I don't like the Pentatonics. However, I do like the spin-off group that two of them formed. At a certain
point, it's not like... It's like, you know, it's like when Trivium or whoever just spend like 10 minutes doing like wanking their fretboard. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's like at some point you've crossed over from this being interesting music to you showing off, and it's an assault on the ears. Give me
it is an aerial assault, yeah, like all Dragon Force songs ever.
Take a little bit away, okay? Even Pollock, you know, had only used limited colors.
That's such a good way of putting it. I think that's very apt.
Pentatonics is just like all of it all the time. Yes, we must make all the sounds every day.
Do you like any of those YouTube channels who make new songs in kind of 80s or 70s style? And they almost replicate them perfectly. It's truly amazing. I've subscribed to a couple of them, but their names escape me. But they kind of remake Justin Bieber tracks with some of the remix stems, and it's just really, really cool.
I'm not sure if I've come across this phenomenon. I know a lot of remix channels.
I'll try and post some in the description if I do manage to find them, but they're really, really awesome. It's just people who've basically written a really cool funk track and gone, oh, this would work with the vocal for What Do You Mean by Justin Bieber, so they find that stem and drop it in, and it's really cool. It's like a really epic track.
If you're a good, say, mashup artist, I am a big fan of that. I've got a lot by this mashup guy called Fugu in my iTunes. It's old at this point, old news to if you know him, if you know about him. But yeah, like mashup stuff when it works is really, really good. Like,
do you remember Norwegian Recycling?
I have not heard of that.
Really? Did you never hear the song How Six Songs Collide?
Nope.
Oh, it was very famous. It started with Howie Days Collide and Jason Mraz's I'm Yours, and then featured other songs like, which one was it? There's a Backstreet Boys one. I was lost and alone, trying to go. That one. I can't remember, but it's called How Six Songs Collide. It's the first ever mashup I heard, aside from Wonderwall mixed with Boulevard of Broken Dreams, I think. But
I love it.
It was really cool.
I do love a good mashup, though. I'm a big fan. That Fugu, I've got one that is Johnny Cash's Hurt with the vocals from Make It With You by Queens of the Stone Age.
Ooh, interesting.
Damn. And it's better than the sum of its parts.
Ooh, that's really cool.
I know, right? That sounds apocryphal, especially since Johnny Cash's Hurt is involved. But trust me, it's so good.
I'll have to check that out. Fuzu, did you say his name was?
Fugu.
Sorry, my mistake.
P-H-E-U-G-O-O.
Well, there we go. I will have to check that out. So to move this to the negative side of this noise coin, what sound or noise do you hate?
The sound of my dad eating fruit.
It's so specific. Why?
It's gross. It's bad. And
which fruit in particular?
And
melon.
Actually, you know what? Anyone eating
mango hedgehogs.
Anyone eating near me. Anyone who eats with their mouth open.
Oh, but that's a sin.
It is a sin. And I don't even believe in sins, but sin.
No, that was, you know the whole Adam and Eve thing, like casting him out of Apple of Eden. Like, it wasn't because they ate the forbidden fruit. It's because he was eating. Are you chewing your fucking mouth open? Now get out. I'm not having this.
The snake was like, yeah, look at me. I've only got 2 teeth. I always
exactly.
Eat
So screw
do
you.
As I do. Yeah, that, like, if I've had housemates in the past who eat with their mouth open, who like, and also strangely manage to make a meal last like an entire hour. So it's like,
oh, for God's sake.
You can't even be happy when like they've finished the meal so you can enjoy the rest of your episode of whatever you're watching. It's like they will be eating the entire time.
That's an entire Game of Thrones session of chewing, and I'm not sure I can deal with that.
Episode of Station 19 ruined.
No, thank you. I can be dealing with it. I think, in fact, a judge or the police would probably just let you off if you ever did kill them. I'd be involved in a news story that ended with he then turned the gun on himself if I lived with a house full of people that were like that.
And fruit and cereal and soft foods are just the worst. They are the culprits, right?
I think one of the worst is yogurt. I don't like listening to people eating yogurt.
Yeah.
Because you have to go to swallow the yogurt. And if you make that noise near me, I will deck you. And I'm not a violent man. I've never once struck someone, but I will if you chew yogurt near me.
Some people overestimate how much they can fit in their mouth and then have no choice but to keep their mouth kind of open.
You've got that tattooed on your chest, don't you, that sentence?
Yeah, I do.
So, Chris, we'll move on with this questionnaire on that bombshell. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, man.
There's probably a whole list, but do you have anything that you really don't want to do?
True to form, yes, I have a whole list. What the easier answer would be what I don't want to do.
Well, that's the next question. So is there something you'd really like to do in life? But I guess because of your variety question, it's a list of things.
The thing is, am I allowed in the context of this question to kind of go back in time a little bit? You know, if I
that's a feature later, so we may have to not allow that.
Because the thing is, I would love to, if I was a vampire.
Okay, good start.
And this might surprise some people that I'm not. But
oh, really?
If I was a vampire and could live forever, I would just try my hand at everything. I would have a lifetime being a doctor. I would have a lifetime being a politician. I would have a lifetime being a money person.
Money person.
Money, like a trader or a broker or something.
A money person, yeah.
Like money and investment fascinates me.
It fascinates me, but not to the point where I'd want to sit at a desk and work at it every day for 5 days a week, every day for, years.
Ins and outs of politics fascinate me. All these things fascinate me, and a lot of them only started fascinating me in later life.
I see.
Like as I became an adult, so it was already too late to train for some of them, because I'd picked my like vocation.
Okay, so you would like to kind of attempt a life of doing everything, I suppose. Would you ever go for the farm life? Would you ever reenact Stardew Valley in this kind of vampiric life?
Oh man, I'd love to. You know this. I love tractors.
I do know this about you.
I've clocked a lot of time in both Stardew Valley and Farming Simulator.
Of course.
Which is not even a game.
No, that is true. That's a simulator, mate.
That is you just plant them and then you wait and then you go up and down and then you take it to the thing and you sell it. And it's very satisfying.
Do you know what? The peak of simulator games for me must have been in around maybe 2011. I was in a game in Guildford, and I was just browsing the PC section just because I was bored. I didn't have a PC at the time. But before my eyes loomed this PC CD-ROM from the early 2000s, and it just said, Street Cleaner Simulator. So I had to turn it over, and it just read on the back on the blurb, want to sweep the streets like a real street cleaner? And it's like, who's the guy who's coming home from whatever he does at work and goes, I need to clock in a few hours on Street Cleaner Simulator, love. Put the kids to bed, dinner can wait, I'll be there in a bit, the streets need cleaning. I don't need to see a digital representation of Bognor Regis with slightly shittier streets for me to sweep up.
That's also something that people do on a volunteer basis already.
Yeah, you can do that in real life.
No one's in the streets saying, nope, can't sweep here.
The reason I play Halo is because I can't be a space marine and I can't respawn to any length. I don't like football, but if I could, I'd go out and play football rather than play FIFA. So why are these people going? And also I saw next to this Port Simulator, and again it said on it, when the boat comes into port, that's when the real hard work begins. I'm thinking, what? Who's made this? Who's playing it? And who's keeping the market alive for someone else to go, I'm making this. This will be great. And how long does it take?
Oh my God.
How many hours are you putting into this? Is there a ranked mode? That's what I want to know.
Oh, probably.
That takes us away from professions, and we'll move on to the final question of the Pivot questionnaire, and then we'll move on to some of the HogCast features, which I adore. So, Chris, if heaven exists, which I know is a difficult start to this question considering we've discussed your atheism,
Well, it doesn't, so move on. No, okay. I'll entertain it.
What would you like God to say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Congratulations, you get to go again.
Oh no, round 2!
Round 2, ding ding, you get to retain everything you learned, but for a little while you're going to be a baby.
Oh, would you do that? Because I think I'd do that. I'd go, restart from...
Yes, I would do that.
That would actually be sick, being 4 years of age, having a teacher tell you off and go, listen here, love.
Yeah, mate, no, your pedagogy's all wrong.
Yeah. Don't patronise me on how to spell cat, love. I'll teach you anti-disestablishmentarianism.
We've all had those, fantasies, haven't we, where you could go back, what if I could do school again, but know everything I know now as an adult? I'd be so good at sex. You know? We've all thought about it. Fuck yeah, if I get to the pearly gates and God is like, okay, new game plus.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'm happy with that answer.
That's one down from... I just am a vampire and I can live forever.
I mean, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, I'm happy with that as a questionnaire, so I think we've got to know you fairly well over this kind of introductory 45 minutes.
I think I learned stuff about myself.
Yeah, I think this is almost therapy now.
Yeah.
So, Chris, it's time for us to move on to our first feature here on the HogCast, which is arguably my favourite. Every week, I put out a tweet asking you, the Hogs, to recommend a haiku topic for me and my guest to try and talk through, try and throw at each other, see which one of us can come up with the best one. And this is a feature that I like to call Haiku Do You Think You Are? Last week for Haiku Do You Think You Are with Isla McTeer, you guys recommended that we did anime as a subject, which comes to no surprise considering Isla McTeer is an anime YouTuber, and you guys pretty much all universally voted that Isla won those, and that is because she actually worked Japanese into her haikus, so that's automatically a win. This week, Chris and I are going to be going head-to-head, ironically, with the subject matter Getting a Haircut that was recommended to us by Thick Boy Charles. Thank you very much, Charles, for recommending this. So, Getting a Haircut, I think this is probably fairly easy to do 3 nice and easy haikus on. So, Chris, why don't you take it away with your first haiku Do You Think You Are?
Okay, I have chosen to make mine, all my haikus, autobiographical.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do them chronologically.
That's fine. Mine are also chronological, but they're not necessarily about me, although they're kind of relatable. So you go first.
Okay, number 1. Do we give them titles?
You can if you want.
I'm gonna call this one, Freedom Was Bitter.
Okay.
Never liked the barbers, so my dad shaved it all off. I cried in the bath.
Do you know what? This is very frustrating because my first one is very similar. I had a feeling we'd get Venn diagrams with our subject matter.
It's a rite of passage that we all go
exactly.
through.
Here is my
Screaming in the barbers.
Here is my first haiku Do You Think You Are? All I requested was a little off the top. Why am I bald now? It's the worry I've had every time I've gone there. I used to have an Italian barber when I was young, who, no matter what you said to him, you were getting your head shaved. Like, you could sit there for 3 to 4 minutes explaining the intricacies of how you wanted it cut. It wouldn't matter to him. He would just get that razor out and there you go. So what is your second haiku Do You Think You Are? Take it away.
This one's called Heidi.
Okay.
Hey, just go crazy. Pink to orange with a wedge. It's for my web show.
That's a really vivid... Is this happened to you?
Based on a true story, there are pictures.
Oh my gosh. What is a wedge?
It's where they just shave down to the skin.
Oh my god.
They just take a chunk
to the
out,
bone. Oh my god.
all the way round, and it was at an angle, and it got thicker as it went round.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Corbett.
And underneath was black.
Oh my god. What, your skull?
And no, everything all the hair left under the wedge.
Oh god.
Was dyed black, and everything above it was like bright pink through to orange with a kind of quiff at the front.
Sweet mother of God. I need to see these pictures now.
In-fucking credible, and you can see it in an episode of Hi, I'm a Draw Ya.
Right, so now it's my turn for my second haiku Do You Think You Are?
Go for it.
It's now that moment. I see the back of my head. I just smile and nod. I've never understood what to say at that moment. Every time they show me the back of my head with a mirror, and I don't think anyone in history has gone, "You've got that all wrong." Oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I asked for at all.
No, you can't just say that.
It's more of a gesture.
You're not allowed.
No, you just kind of have to go. You nod, and you go, "Yep, great, yep, perfect."
The only socially acceptable thing to do in that situation is to pay them and leave and never come back.
Yep, sounds about right.
That is it, because there's no way you can tell your barber that they did a bad job right there.
Yeah, I've just got to find a new place to get my hair cut now.
No. Like, sorry, not paying for this. The person who has the stones to say that is a person I don't want to mess with.
I agree. Right, Chris, what is your third and final haiku do you think you are to do with hair cutting?
This one's called Sometimes I Wear Gym Clothes.
Okay.
Could not see the back. He held the mirror and asked, "Is 3 stripes enough?"
Is this to do with the same incident from number 2?
These are all 3 separate times.
Oh, sweet Christ.
This being the most recent, because I dressed differently than how I did a few years ago.
Right.
And yeah, it was, I had to go down to a 1.
Oh, a 1?
To avoid looking like a walking Adidas logo.
Oh, Christ.
Because no one had told him that I was not cool enough for that.
Okay, here's my third and final one, which I experience every time I go to the barber's. Do you take card here? No. Of course you bloody don't. No tip for you, sir. Never once. Every time I ask it, and they always go, no,
it's the same.
There's a cash machine right outside, though. It's like, well, then why?
You should have learned, dude.
Yeah, I know. I should just go in with it.
You should have learned by now. I go buy the cash machine, and then I go to the barber's.
I need to get my hair cut soon, because I'm getting to the point where it's getting just unwieldy. But what do? I like the length of my hair at the front, but on the sides and back it looks shit, but I can't go in and go, look, love, just shave the sides and the back, because that'll look ridiculous.
Sometimes I ask them, actually, just for fun. I'm like, hey, do you take card? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I got you. And I give them the cash. And they're
wow.
like, And I'm like, And they're like, we're a drug front. And I'm like,
shit.
Goodbye.
I never thought about it that way. You're right. Oh, that's why mine's called crack cocaine. I should really have thought about that.
That's why your barber is called Cuts and Cuts.
Exactly. There it is. That was the joke I really needed to make.
What are the other cuts?
Well, if you guys enjoyed this week's haiku do you think you are, and you guys have any suggestions for haikus, do leave them in the comment section over on the YouTube version of this HogCast, because I will try and read out some of your guys if you guys give me any that really, really tickle me or that I think are really, really good. Try and let me know who won as well. Last week it was Isla, absolutely, completely overwhelming me. But this week, did Chris win or did I win with our relatable hair-cutting haikus?
We were both very relatable.
They certainly were. Very, very wholesome. Now, we're about to go to one of our most relatable features. That's what I meant to say. And that is, Am I Normal? Am I Normal is just a section where we discuss something that we do or that's maybe a little bit quirky in our lives, and we discuss whether it's something normal. Sometimes quite a few other people do it. The thing I had was, growing up, I always thought that there were sharks in swimming pools, and I know that's a strange one, but I've actually spoken to quite a few people now who tell me that they suffered from the same thing, and they still do to this day. Doing things like backstroke in a pool makes them incredibly nervous, and I still struggle with that. So do you have anything that makes you normal, or anything that makes you abnormal? I had
a whole list of things.
I see.
That I wrote down for this section, and I think I'll lead with the best one. I think I've whittled it down to the funniest.
Okay.
When I am in a crowded or stressful environment, most often it is like Comic-Con or MCM or Playlist Live. And there's a lot of people around, and they're all going in different directions, and maybe there are some people that want to meet me or that want to try and sell me something or hand me flyers. And I need to get from A to B, I need to go to the toilet, or I just, or it happens on Oxford Street, I'm like trying to get to Marks and Spencer's, please, thank you, want to buy some cushions.
Right.
And there's all these fucking people getting in my way.
Sure.
Every single time I find myself in that situation, my brain starts playing the theme from Star Wars Episode 1: A Phantom Menace.
What, Duel of Fates?
Yes.
No!
Not even the famous bit.
Which bit plays? Do you mean the
like one of those no, it's like one of those videos where they take one lyric of a song and perfectly loop it.
Right.
My brain, right? Imagine me trying to walk at a decent pace down Oxford Street on a Saturday.
I'm imagining it.
My brain is going it never stops.
I think I do this as well.
It never advances.
Yeah, it never moves. Yeah,
it never gets to the ba da da. It just is like it
doesn't even have the.
I even hum it myself sometimes out loud.
I think that's a great one because I've often done things like that, maybe less so with the playing the music, but I've always imagined, so you know in those long journeys when you were a small kid and you just spent ages staring out the window, you'd watch things like the street lights go by. To me, I'd imagine in my head kind of being like Spider-Man and swinging from each one to each one, or jumping, or I'd look at all the cars that I could see outside on the motorway with us and go, if I was Spider-Man, how would I get forward on this motorway? Well, I could jump on this car to that car, or I can maybe swing onto there. I don't know. Is that normal? Is that the kind of thing that most people do?
Oh, absolutely. I used to...
sort of what Cluster Truck envisioned, actually. Similarly, I had something like that from one of the Rugrats PlayStation 1 games.
Oh, shit.
Because there's an episode, or there's a level where you go in through a mirror, and you end up playing in your house, but everything's upside down. So you walk up, you're walking around the house, but have you ever looked at how a door is? You don't just walk through a door on the ceiling. There's a lip that you walk over. So now I always see a room upside down. And part of me kind of imagines, like is it Poseidon, the ship that turned upside down?
I think so, yeah.
Part of me now imagines what it would be like if my house suddenly Poseidoned and I had to get out. How would I go about doing that with the newly shifted gravity of my flat? Is that normal?
No, that's absolutely normal. I'm absolutely 100% on board with that. It's just like my Tony Hawk's disease.
Interesting. So we're both very normal. We kind of envision things through video games of our youth and go, yep, real life is now able to be part of my vision.
And to tie the two together, right? The music and also the seeing things as games. The other piece of music that seems to just be my inner soundtrack is the theme from We Love Katamari.
Oh, really?
Yes. Well, it's Katamari
Damashi
on the Rocks.
Oh, right.
Which is like the first level.
So not
music.
la 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 la.
Well, yeah, but it's like the extended one, so it's like.
Oh, right.
And then it goes into the beat,
Nice.
And that is the other song where it's like I'm moving with purpose, but I'm not in like a stressed environment.
Unfortunately, me moving with purpose is a constant stress because for me, nobody else on Earth seems to be moving with purpose when I'm moving with purpose, and it pisses me off that they're not going to wherever they're going
so that's
with purpose.
So that's when that
exactly.
comes in. But if it's...
ever since now that you've said this, I'm just going to hear Duel of Fates in my head when I commute now because I power walk and all I'm going to hear is dun 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 dun.
When it's like coming easy, maybe I'm getting stuff done, I'm crossing stuff off my to-do list, or I'm just like, oh hey, I'm gonna go out for a walk, and I close the door. What's that? Not anything I've listened to remotely in the last decade. Nope, it's Katamari.
Great. Interestingly, I do the same kind of thing from a game called Crazy Racers, which was like Konami's Game Boy Advance Mario Kart equivalent. And it's got a couple of songs on there that I still, to this day, just sing constantly, just while I'm out and about or walking, or when I'm moving quickly, or if I hear even something like a bus's brakes go in a certain tonality or cadence, I go, oh, that sounded like... And then I'll start singing the Game Boy Advance track. It's weird how things like that work. I guess it's kind of context-dependent remembering. But interestingly, that brings us to the end of our first feature, Am I Normal? Are we normal, guys? You guys can let us know. Let us know things you do that you maybe think are a little bit too quirky to be considered normal. And next time, maybe we'll rate you and see if you're normal. Anyway, Chris, it's time for us to move on to yet another feature here on the HogCast. We're a very feature-heavy HogCast because I like to play games with people. I like to try and see how their brains work. So now, it's time for Super Timey Wimey Hoggy Boggy Nonsense! Now, this is actually simply a time travel feature. It just has a very grandiose name that I simply don't remember writing down, but that's by the by. Chris, do you have anywhere in your past, in the past of the planet, or maybe even in the future of the planet, that you would like to visit, and why?
I just want to go to the future, man.
That's kind of the essence of your podcast, isn't it? But you're trying to save us from the future, so are you trying to go to the future to save us from the future?
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret about my podcast, I Will Save You from the Future, available on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Always plugging.
The secret to my podcast is that it's like a kind of doomsday conspiracy theorist thing, but I'm kind of playing like a character, you know, like how Stephen Colbert pretends to be a Republican, but he's not.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of like that. I play it for laughs, but actually, I can't wait to get to the future. I can't wait. I'm so fascinated. If I can go like 100 years, 200 years, 300 years into the future, and I can see what's there, I'll be happy. No matter, like, whatever it is, I will be fascinated. It'll be like a new world, and I get to experience everything. I'll get to tickle that, you know, variety novelty boner that I love so much. I've
never heard the expression tickle the boner, but sure, I get what you mean.
Tickle my novelty boner. And hey, like, also, if I can come back, damn, I'm going to be rich.
That is true. I said this one week, actually, that I'd like to go to the future, notice trends, come back, start trends earlier, get rich, die famous, kind of something like that. I think for me, whilst I agree with you that I love the idea of the future, I just like technological advancements, even at a base level. I like seeing how society evolves. I like seeing the way the things we use on a day-to-day basis change and adapt. But actually, this week, I'm deciding to go back just to times kind of before 1950, when everything was in black and white, just so I can see it with my eyes, 2018 eyes that don't see it as this grainy, sped up black and white weird footage. I can't envision what British countryside was like in the war, because all I see are these black and white photos or sped up footage, and I know it's footage, I know that's how pictures work, but it's not the same as seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. Their clothes had color. They walked around. That's why something like a show like Peaky Blinders or something never quite feels realistic to us.
Sure.
Because it's like, well, it's clearly a modern television show. They didn't have those colors back then.
That is true. I didn't think about that.
It's crazy, but you made a really good point. You're blowing my mind here. I'd love to go back and just see what, you know, maybe Charlie Chaplin's suit jacket was like kind of off navy.
Yeah, we'll never know. I'd like to go back and watch that Charlie Chaplin, you know, the famous time traveler conspiracy Charlie Chaplin footage. I'd like to just go back and see that getting filmed.
Yeah.
And then eventually just go up to that woman and go, what is that you've got? Oh, it's just right, you're just covering your face. Okay. What if it is a time traveler and I'm also back there time traveler going, yo, dude, where did you come from? Why are you using that in Charlie Chaplin's videos? You're ruining it for us.
But in the past, in black and white times, there is no technology that's going to help me live forever.
No, this is true. Is living forever something you want from life?
Yes.
You and I are on the same wavelength with that then, because I don't want to die. I want to live forever.
Die, and it's like the Queen song, "Who Wants to Live Forever?" I stick my hand straight up.
Yeah, I would like to live forever. Put me in a kind of biomechanical interface and I'll be happy.
The ghost of Freddie Mercury's there and he's like, but Bing, what about all your loved ones, Bing? And I'm like, no, well, I'll find new ones.
Wow. Yeah, but what if they die? See, this is one of those things where if you wished for immortality, I'd have to wish that the halo effect of me getting immortality is so does everyone I care about. Because then they'll live forever as well. And we all get to live together forever happily.
Well, now you're making me sound like a dick.
Well, I wasn't trying to imply it, but...
like, obviously, if that's on the table, then yes. But most of the time, it isn't. Come on. Get real.
Well, speaking of getting real, Chris, it's time for me to bring you down to a slightly more challenging topic. This is another one of the features that we have here on the HogCast, arguably the final feature for you today, Chris. And this one is simply called Let's Play God!
The alpha and omega of segments.
It is now your turn to shout the name of this feature because I'll reverb the living fuck out of it and it'll sound glorious.
Let's Play God!
Fantastic. fantastic. That's all I needed. That's perfect.
I'll do a Worf one.
Okay, go for it.
Let's play God!
That's new. We've not had one of those before. Our character doing it. I like this. This is an interesting change. Goodness, this is just becoming a very kind of left of field HogCast, and it's exciting. I'm not normally a fan of change, but this is fun. I like this.
I am Weasel.
Oh my god, I forgot about that show completely. Was it IR Baboon and I Am Weasel?
IR Baboon, big star of cartoon, and IR better than Weasel.
Dude, that show had one of the sickest theme tunes in the world.
And then it's like da 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 da. I can't remember all the lyrics, but then it's like, and then Worf comes in and he's like, I am Weasel. I am Weasel.
Do you know, that's one of my favourite bits of that theme tune is when he goes, I am Weasel, and then it goes, and then it has the little kind of guitar solo. It's really good.
It is a good day to die.
I want to see I Am Weasel doing that now. We're going to make that into a thing.
I'm sure there's YouTube videos of Weasel saying things that Worf said in Star Trek for sure.
I need that to happen.
Everyone needs to. If there aren't videos on YouTube
we're making
Weasel saying Worf things, then it is our responsibility
to make this happen.
Make them.
So Chris, for Let's Play God, the point of this is that we are trying to change something about people, society, or maybe the planet Earth, and then we're going to discuss the kind of changes that would have on our lives or how that would affect us. Do you have anything that you, as a deity, despite being a non-believer, as you've mentioned a few times, that you would change about society or about the planet Earth?
I would remove the very modern obsession with being famous.
Interesting.
And I mean that in like, because, you know, as long as the music industry or as, you know, publishing, you know, en masse has been a thing, people have wanted to be published and well known and paid for their art. I mean the very modern
vacuous fame,
like in the last couple decades, obsession with fame for fame's sake,
right?
And the kind of everything that comes bundled with that, and a lot the
kind of Paris Hilton effect.
Yeah, the trickle down of like everyone in some way seemingly wanting to be famous or just being like kind of cultured into turning themselves into a brand. And I know that sounds really Hippocratic. That's doctors. Hypocritical. It sounds really hypocritical of me because I'm a YouTuber and I make a big part of my career is social media.
Sure.
But I kind of accept that. I want to have a career in entertainment and in film and making and directing stuff or performing in stuff or publishing music. And the social media is like a means to an end. It is not, it's never been like the be all and end all for me.
You don't want to be an Instagram model sort of thing.
I don't just want to be an Instagram model or something like that. It would be unfulfilling to me. Even if it was making me lots of money.
It just wouldn't have that variety of the curry of life you need.
Yeah. And also because I'm aware of it, I'm maybe slightly, and I can remember a time before it, which is very big, you know, because there are a lot of people nowadays that don't, and we forget that.
So you kind of you want to transcend the idea of people becoming famous and living in that fame sphere
I'm not like immune to it. I'm not immune to the neurosis that comes with it, but I am far more protected against it than, say, anyone who is 18 or younger now.
Sure, absolutely. I'm kind of glad we didn't have this kind of stuff growing up.
I'm so glad, man, and I couldn't possibly raise a child right now in this decade.
No, and thinking about the idea of Facebook, I mean, we had Bebo and then Facebook and MySpace and all that when we were kind of, I mean, you're a few years older than me, but we were, you know, similar times in our lives. We kind of ran into MySpace and Facebook and Bebo and things. Yeah. But now, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, it's rife, it's everywhere, and you can't escape it.
And there was a big period people kind of maybe don't immediately think about. There was a big period between those websites starting to be a thing and them being in your phone all the time.
That is true.
Because when MySpace started, I was still on a brick.
You couldn't have done that from your phone.
So it wasn't following me around all the time, and I wasn't able to post photos to it all the time.
You had to go on GPS WAP sites, which sounds like a kind of British slang for a porn site.
Well, I just didn't because it was expensive, and I could never figure out how to turn the adult filter off on my phone plan.
No, I never figured that out either. In fact, I think a friend of mine tried, and he got my phone infected with porn viruses.
Also, on a more self-serving note, if the like cultural default was not trying to be famous on every social media, it'd be a lot easier for the rest of us who are trying to turn it into a career.
That's so true. Yeah, you eliminate the competition.
Like, everyone, like, it's not just other YouTubers and other podcasters and
it's
other
nobodies
artists and
who want to be known.
Yeah, it's not, your competition isn't just other podcasters or YouTubers or musicians.
It's
your
everyone.
Competition is everyone.
And that's shit.
Every single person is like, okay, what are you going to do with those fucking followers? Fuck off. Give them to me.
True.
I'll put them to use.
And weirdly, I think the same thing kind of applies to the music industry. Whilst I agree with you on this whole fame because of fame thing, part of me feels the same about people who pursue music, because I used to pursue music, and that was what I was going to do for my career and I was going to do in my life. Until I met an artist called Jack Savaretti, who a couple of years ago was doing super well in the charts. He had a #1 album and everything, and he kind of had this big comeback. But I met him in 2012 when my friend Freddie and I got VIP tickets. We won a competition. And I got to go and present the TV at Hard Rock Calling Festival, and I also got backstage stuff. And I met Jack Savaretti while we were backstage just having a few drinks, and he was really lovely, and we had a good chat with him for like an hour. And he basically said to me, because Freddie was a huge fan of it, he said to Freddie, well, thank God you've bought my album, because at the moment I'm fucking broke. I can't afford to feed my wife and kid. And that hit me really hard, because I'm not the best I've never gone, wow, I'm a really good vocalist. That's just never been me. I know I can carry a tune, but I by no means consider myself to be a great vocalist. I can play the guitar. I'm by no stretch of the imagination or the definition a good guitarist, but I can put those two things together coherently. But that's not enough, If you want to become this kind of pop smash hit, you either have to have the best PR team in the world, or you need to be fucking epic. And I don't have either.
Well, you need to have a lot of it just comes down to having some capital and being smart with how you spend it.
That's true. But so I'm not trying to discourage people from doing music, because I think everyone should do music if that's something you enjoy. I think you should give up on the idea of becoming the next Taylor Swift kind of thing, which I know quite a few musicians don't believe they'll ever do. But you pretty much have to abandon the idea that that exists for you and never aim for that. It might happen for you if you pursue the right thing, and that's great, and I encourage you to do that. But sadly, it's just one of those things that the rock and roll lifestyle of the 60s and 70s that we know from cliches is no longer a thing.
Well, I think there's being a musician, there's being like a gigging working musician, and then there's being a superstar. Being a superstar is more about the business.
Yeah, you're right.
Like they're people who have a team around them, and like more often than not either come from money or have had some kind of windfall that allows them to invest in, studios and producers and the right collaborations and traveling to the right thing and getting the right representation and saying to your representation, hey, I've got a budget of 10 grand. Where can you, how far can you get me in the charts?
It's true. It's kind of become a bit more corporate function.
Right. It can be done. But it's always for that top tier, except for the odd freak occurrence. It has always been a money numbers thing.
That is true. I didn't think of it that way. It's just kind of down to capital.
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, and it's kind of, this is what we're really talking about here is no longer like desire for fame. We're talking about that moment in every creative's career where you see like the curvature of the universe and you realize how everything is kind of stacked against you. It's like, yeah, Josh Homme came from money. Fucking Courtney Cox, born to a wealthy family in Alabama. Jack Black, friends with everyone in Hollywood already.
Yeah, it's shit like that, where you're just like, okay, well, that's where these people got their break.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean they're not talented, but it means...
No, it just means they had a different avenue that you maybe don't have the access to.
They tick the boxes.
Yeah, that is true.
And you can tick the boxes. Anyone can tick the boxes. So really, we should be saying like, hey, If you want to be the next Taylor Swift, fucking go for it. You can do it.
If you have
save up all your money and only do things that are very strategically thought out.
Get Max Martin to write you a song.
Yeah.
And then you're done. That's it. All you need to do is have Max Martin write you one hit and you'll be made for life.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think you hit on all these really deep, meaningful kind of plunging in the depths of human experience. And here's my stupid answer written in front of me of, I would give everyone train fever. Or failing that, make dragons a thing. And yours was this whole deep idea. Oh my God.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I'm not upset. I think we've had a really good chat, but I feel like a mug now.
I don't feel like a mug. Hey, you booked a comedy YouTuber, you expected comedy. That's on me. That's my bad. I'm clearly in a weird mood.
Well, Chris, it does bring us to the end of all the features we have, and it actually does bring us to the end of the HogCast, except we have one more thing to do. As I mentioned at the very beginning of the HogCast, we do top and tail every HogCast with a questionnaire. We started, obviously, with the Pivot questionnaire from inside the Actors Studio, but now it's time for the customized GameHog Quickfire questionnaire. This is going to be a very rapid-fire questioning that may...
So you just want short answers?
Pretty much. Okay. I mean, it's just going to be random. You're going to see how quickly you think on your feet. The question may be boring, or it may just be unusual. It's just to see how you react, basically, in as short a time as possible. So, Chris Bingham, are you ready to face the GameHog Quickfire questionnaire?
I am. I should warn you that my Japanese food might arrive during...
I wasn't prepared for that, but this should be fine.
If you hear a doorbell... and then like a clatter, that's me putting my headphones down to go get my food.
Okay, fine. Your time begins now. Train fever or brain fever?
Train fever.
Correct. Train fever or scarlet fever?
Train fever.
Correct. Train fever or beaver fever?
Train fever.
Correct. Would the Proclaimers have walked to their lover's door if they found out it was actually 1,024 miles?
No.
Correct. If your life was a movie title, what would it be? You're thinking, don't think.
Gotta get that art.
Okay, point for that, point for creativity. What are vegetables made from?
People.
Sure, yeah, fine point there. You have entered a castle to find a long-lost collector's edition of the hit game Train Fever. Upon entering the main foyer of the castle, a mighty beast with 12 heads stands before you. How will you bypass this test? You have 3 choices. Do you Jenny A, reason with the beast? After all, you've always had an affinity with reptiles since you were a small boy, and the giant in its slitted eyes reminds you of Arthur, your pet gecko from when you were 8. Do you Jenny B, attack the beast? Nothing you can do. Sorry, I'm too distracted by the fact I'm using Jenny A, Jenny B, and Jenny C for your answers. Do you Jenny B, attack the beast because nothing could stand in the way of you and Train Fever? Do you Jenny C, just leave? Train Fever's alright, but there are far more interesting locomotive simulators out there, and this just ain't worth the hassle, Daddy-O.
I'll try and reason with the beast.
Unfortunately, you get roasted alive by simply one of the 12 heads, and you have failed.
Well, I resisted the urge to do my own answer, which is to just get it on Steam, mate. Nobody buys physical anymore.
Fair enough. I get you get back a point for creativity there.
Okay, cool.
If quizzes are quizzical, what are tests?
Testicle.
No, that's just inappropriate what you said. The answer was difficult.
You got me there.
Right, Chris, you've done well so far, but it's now time for your final question.
Okay, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on.
Can you save me from the future if the future involves giant radioactive caterpillars riding the backs of armored flaming triceratops? And if so, how?
I think that's actually an episode we did, so yes.
And how? Or will we have to watch to find out?
Turns out they were holograms. Just turn them off.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the final answer!
Did I win? What's my prize?
Do you know what? I actually think you got full marks except for one question, which was the quizzical testicle one. So basically, I'd say
the answer to that one?
The answer was difficult.
Oh.
I was throwing you, Chris. I was seeing how you think on your feet. You're thinking outside the box.
I just wanted to say testicle on there.
You did, and you giggled your way through it, and don't think I didn't notice that. But Chris, I'm going to give you 9 out of 10 points there.
Yes!
I'd say that's actually the best we've done so far. Every week, people seem to do that a little bit better, and so far you've got near perfect. If anyone manages to get a perfect score, they will beat you. But this has been a very enjoyable HogCast. I think we've got to know you very well, Chris. So thank you very much for being here. How have you enjoyed the hour and a half of kind of intense, weird questioning I've thrown at you?
I've had a very good time. I've had a very, very good time. I've learned a lot about you, about me, about haikus.
This is true. Now, I'm gonna ask you to plug yourself, Chris. Where can people find you if they want to see your online content, if they want to hear your music, if they want to hear your podcast, if they want to follow your musings on Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat? Where can they find you?
Awesome. So people can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/IamBing, or just search my name, Christopher Bingham. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Hello I Am Bing. I wasn't allowed to have I Am Bing, it's too short or something. I just got into Twitch, actually. So you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/streambing.
We've been streaming some Train Fever over on there, and you and that Jenny B have been doing some Human Full Flat, I see.
Yeah, we've streamed together. We need to do that again sometime soon.
We certainly do. Hopefully some Monster Hunter at some point. That was something you wanted to get into, but you haven't actually managed to purchase it yet, have you?
No, I need to get, well, it's not console only still, and I don't have a capture card. So Monster Hunter's like, what, £50?
It will be coming out on PC sometime in the next few months.
Yeah, maybe I'll get it on PC, because if I get it on console, it'll be, like, I haven't yet needed to get a capture card, and I'm trying to put it off, because they're not hugely expensive, but
they're expensive enough to be a problem.
I gotta eat.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for being here, because this has been great fun. And guys, if you have enjoyed this and you're listening to the audio version, like I've said a number of times in the HogCast, make sure you migrate over to the YouTube version. Leave us a little like, leave us a comment letting us know who won the Haiku Do You Think You Are section. Let us know some answers to the questions, the features that we throw out. I'd like to hear what you guys think. And thank you very much for listening. This has been yet another HogCast. Look forward to another one next week. I can't wait to do this again. It's becoming a very, very fun series. We are going to be doing about 12 of them for this series, and then we're going to have a little break, so look forward to many more of these coming. Anyway, guys, we will see you in the next HogCast. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-sies. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.